This isn't your typical scary story, but I promise it's worth hearing. I was about 2 years out of undergrad when the whole thing started. I was technically getting an online graduate certificate, but honestly, I had way too much free time. At that point in my life, I was bouncing between random jobs just trying to stack money. Then one night, I stumbled across a listing that immediately felt strange. It was a private lifeguarding job at a hotel a few towns over. The first weird thing was the hours. They wanted someone to supervise the pool from 5 in the evening until 1 in the morning. That alone felt off. But then I saw the part that really confused me. They specifically requested someone who didn't speak Spanish. Which made absolutely no sense to me, because I'd been speaking Spanish since I was a little kid. Honestly, that should have been the point where I ignored the listing completely. But then I saw how much they were paying. At the time, I was too broke to care how weird it sounded. So I applied, and I conveniently left out the part about speaking Spanish.
Even after I submitted the application? Something about it kept bothering me.
I tried going to sleep after that, but my brain just kept replaying the listing over and over. Then the next morning, I woke up to a missed call from the hotel. They didn't even ask about my experience. They just told me to come in that afternoon. The whole thing felt rushed, like they were more interested in getting someone there quickly than hiring the right person. And honestly, the farther I drove away from town, the worse my gut feeling got. The area around the hotel looked almost abandoned. The hotel itself looked old. Not abandoned exactly, but definitely neglected. There were barely any cars there, which felt strange for the middle of the afternoon. The lobby was even weirder than the outside.
The guy at the front desk already seemed to know who I was before I even introduced myself. "Welcome, sir. You were expected."
He didn't even ask for my resume at first. The interview barely felt like an interview. The scene features realistic fabric rustle of a hoodie and most of the conversation was just him explaining the pool rules. Then out of nowhere, "Do you speak Spanish?" He asked if I spoke Spanish, and I lied straight to his face. He just stared at me for a few seconds after I answered. And the second I said no, his whole attitude changed. Then he started giving me rules that had nothing to do with lifeguarding. Most guests only use the pool late at night. Try to avoid unnecessary conversations with them, all right? He specifically told me not to ask questions about guests wearing wristbands. At that point, I should have walked out immediately. He wanted me to start that night. Then he offered to show me around the property. The pool area, honestly, looked more like a private compound than a hotel. The more he explained the job, the less it sounded like actual lifeguarding. And then I saw the wristband for the first time. The way he looked at me before disappearing through that gate made my stomach tighten instantly. So I asked him what was behind the gate. His answer sounded polite, but it definitely didn't feel polite. This area is private. Employees never need access there. That's when I started noticing how many people were watching the courtyard without actually using it. And then I met the guy, buddy. Everyone there seemed weirdly careful around. The second he shook my hand, I got this weird feeling like I was being evaluated. He barely said anything, but somehow every sentence felt loaded. The way he blocked that gate so casually told me more than any explanation could have. I knew then something was wrong here. At that point, I already knew something illegal was happening there. And for some reason, I still agreed to come back the next night. Even driving away that night, I had this horrible feeling that I was making a mistake. I kept trying to convince myself the whole thing was probably harmless. But the more I thought about it, the less normal any of it felt. I almost called and quit before my first shift even started. And the second I pulled into the parking lot, I realized the motel looked completely different at night. The place felt completely alive at night, but nobody was acting normal. Everybody wearing those wristbands moved around like they already knew the rules.
You're new here, right?
The second one of the staff looked over at us. She completely shut down. The humidity hung thick, pressing down on everything. You ask a lot of questions for someone on their first night. What exactly is that supposed to mean? People who stay quiet around here tend to have a much easier time. The longer I sat there, the more obvious it became that the pool was just an excuse for something else. And for a split second, I finally saw what was behind the gate. The gate clicked shut behind the passing guests. Trust me, you don't want to know what happens back there. That was the moment things stopped feeling strange, and started feeling dangerous. You'll sleep a lot better if you stop trying to understand everything. After a while, it became impossible to pretend I didn't know what was happening there. And then I made the mistake that almost got me killed. The second I understood what they were saying, I realized exactly why they didn't want Spanish speakers working there.
At that point, I knew I needed to get out of there without anyone realizing what I'd heard.
And then I ran straight into Esteban. You look nervous all of a sudden. No, I'm fine. Just the heat, I guess. Nah. I'm just tired. Long night. I could feel him watching me, even after I walked away. The second my shift ended, I wanted out of there as fast as possible. And even sitting inside my car, I still felt like I was being watched. I couldn't stop thinking about one thing. If they found out I understood Spanish, I was probably done.
I didn't sleep at all that night. The next morning, they called asking where I was. I knew the second I answered, they'd hear something was wrong.
I started convincing myself they might actually come looking for me.
I looked like I hadn't slept in a week. Hey, buddy. Just checking if you're still coming in tonight.
I never went back to that motel again. But even after weeks passed, I still couldn't shake the feeling that it wasn't over.
Then one afternoon, I saw the wristband again. And when he looked at me, I swear he recognized me too.
That's when I realized the motel probably wasn't the real operation. It was just one location.
And honestly, I still don't answer unknown numbers anymore.
I should have deleted the voicemail without listening to it.
We know you understood us.
A few minutes later, I heard someone outside my door.
And when I looked through the peephole, someone was standing there. And then I saw the wristband.
Then came the knocking. Then came the knocking. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. I just waited for whoever it was to leave. When I finally checked the hallway, there was nobody there. And sitting right outside my door was another wristband.